Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to another exciting episode of Psychology Talks. And today we're going to discuss one of the very hot topic these days because, as I was just talking to David a little earlier before the show, and that nowadays a lot of companies are laying off a huge or large number of jobs, and people are looking for job. First of all, they're looking for the job and they're looking for the right job, because sometimes when you are out of job you need any kind of job to survive, and then you want to move on further and further to find out what you actually want in life and how you can grow further in the career. So today in our show we're going to discuss how you can land a dream job, because it's not easy to find a job and it's even difficult to find the dream job. And today our guest is the one who has been helping a lot of, like, there are thousands of people finding a job that they like, and he's an expert, a resume writer. He is a job coach and a LinkedIn coach. He has helped number of people in last few years to find their dream job, to increase their presence on LinkedIn, and in recently, like in past 7 months, he has almost helped 300 middle management and C-suite professionals land new career. So let's welcome David ALto. Thank you, David. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me on your live, and that was a great introduction. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. It was very brief though, but we can talk about it further. And thanks to the audience who've been joining us today. Please let us know from where are you joining, and if you have any question, please share your questions, and we will be answering your question during our chat and during our discussion. So, David, thank you for joining. And I gave a very brief introduction, but tell us a little bit more about yourself, that how you joined in this field, and what were you doing before that, and what led you to this field.
Sure. Yeah. No, thank you for the opportunity. So,
Yeah.
uh, about 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago, I left my day job to do what I'm doing now, and the introduction was perfect. So I won't go into exactly what I'm doing now. But before that, I was a district manager, a multi-unit manager. Having about 10 to 12 different retail locations. I had to travel to provide training, right? To provide coaching, feedback, provide, help with interviews. I've done thousands of interviews over the years, and really all of that has, led me to being able to coach people that need a little bit of job coaching. Maybe they're not sure exactly what career, maybe they're in their 40s and 50s and trying to figure out, okay, what is that last 20 years going to look like? And maybe they want to get into a different field. Interview prep. I provide a lot of interview prep because a lot of people just go about interviewing maybe a little bit, well, not wrong, but there's some strategies I teach to help them. And then, looking at thousands of resumes over the years, thousands. Really, it's knowing what recruiters and hiring managers want to look at, have the time to look at. So for me, writing a resume is very strategic. Uh, of course, it's about grammar and whatnot, but knowing that nobody's ever going to read your entire resume, we need to be very strategic in where we put things, how we say it, and then, of course, if they like us, they're going to go to our LinkedIn profile. We got to have a great LinkedIn profile, and maybe we'll even talk a little bit about that today. So, I really, we should never diminish any of our previous jobs. I mean, I think of my first job ever when I was about 10. I delivered newspapers, but every month I had to go knock on doors to
Yeah.
collect because there was no payments. This was quite a while ago. There was no online payments or
Yeah.
people using credit cards. So, but that led me to understand collections, how to talk to people, even early in life. So all of our experiences, shouldn't be ashamed of any job we had if you learn and take something away from, each and every job that you've had in your life.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think you had a diverse experience, like from delivering a newspaper to reading these resumes and creating and helping people to create resumes. I think, and as you mentioned, that every job you do teaches you something,
Yes.
right? Like as you said, like even delivering a newspaper and then knocking up every door to collect the payment, of course, taught you something, that how to interact with people. So whatever we are doing in our daily life, it teaches us something, and that's what exactly when we learn from all these experiences, it gives us some power, or it gives us some strength to move forward in life. So moving on to our discussion, that how to land a dream job.
Sure.
What are the basic, I mean, the basic element that how people can find their dream job?
Sure.
We'll
Well,
come to the resume writing later, but first
sure.
let's start with a process of searching the job. Yeah.
Sure. Well, dream job, you have to really identify really what that is. And that should
Yeah.
be a combination of what you're great at and maybe what you really, really enjoy doing. So you gotta put those two together. So you got to be able to identify that. But let's say you went to college and you're in an you're in an industry that you want, and you start applying for jobs. It's learning all the right things to do, because yes, you're going to have to apply with that resume or CV. But most of us hear about jobs through networking, friends, former peers, current peers, whatever. So you really have to know like where to look and how to look. So on LinkedIn, sometimes maybe it's not your connections that can help you, but what about those second degree connections, meaning those your connections that you can reach out to? Leveraging LinkedIn like a database might be able to help you identify, or go find that dream job. Because again, in all of life, it's not that maybe I can help you or you can help me, but you have somebody that can help me. I think, and I'm sure you get this a lot, where somebody on LinkedIn, hey, do you know how to do this? No, but hey, go and talk to this person or talk to this person. I'm sure when we have big, large audiences, we know how to do that. So you have to know what your dream job is based on, again, what you love doing and what you're really good at. And then it's reaching out to others. I always tell people, when you see a job you want to apply for, why don't you go on LinkedIn, search for people in the same or similar role, and ask them some targeted questions. And when we get to a few different sections in here, I'll explain more in depth. But you really have to have had to, again, identify what is, that dream job. Or maybe it's just the job in the moment. And there are hundreds of job boards out there.
Yeah.
Really, maybe leverage just whatever ones, based on your, country or whatever. Here in the US, it's Indeed and LinkedIn is pretty much about the only ones you need to use, because otherwise you're going to be searching, hundreds and hundreds of job boards, finding the same jobs, and then wasting a lot of time. So really be strategic in maybe just a couple different job boards.
I think that's a brilliant advice, and because what uh, the complaint I usually get when people are applying for the job is they keep on sending the resume to the job posting, like wherever, for example, if they get to um, see the job posting on certain portal or on certain website, they keep on applying, but they don't get the response. And I think your approach is uh, reaching out to the people first is the way to actually getting some attention from the recruiter. I think that's the best approach to do that. And I think LinkedIn is a great place to be, because that connects all the, I think this is the only professional network, I would say. I mean, there are a lot of, like, the Fiverr is there, and there are so many other, but LinkedIn has a lot of professionals who are willing to help. And I've seen that even when we try to connect with people, they are very helpful. I mean, if you try to build some meaningful connection, not just send the DM like hi and hello and how are you, that will never give you a response. But if you know exactly what do you want from the other person, and if you try to actually give something rather than asking for something, then you get some response much better or much quicker than the, like, simple saying hi or hello or whatever. So I think that is one very important thing. The other thing now, so you, if I've just sum up your advice, is that we need to find the people who are in the field and then connect them. Now, coming to the second part. So, what is the next part in job search? You did contact a lot of people, and again, not everyone is there to offer your job at first. What's next then? You're reaching out hundreds of people, yet no response. So, how do you tackle that?
Sure. So it's generally our approach, and you're right, saying hi or whatnot. So I provide, and anybody can DM me that's watching this, and I'll provide this little cheat sheet. But if you're looking to apply for, let's say, just a project manager position at Amazon, right? Just making one up. If you search for people that work in that same or similar job at that company, and you message them maybe something like this, hey, I see that you work at Amazon as a project manager. I had had a question. Basically, I would just love to learn a little bit about your experience with Amazon and, like, the company culture. Thank you in advance, right? Keeping it brief, and really you're just asking people to share. And that's
Yeah,
such a good approach, because you're not asking favors, you're just asking somebody to
yeah,
share. And what you get from that, though, you get to learn about company culture better than going on a company website, right?
yeah,
You'll get to know more about the role, right? And maybe you'll get some good things that you could answer in that interview. But what if there's something in it for that person that refers? What if they end up referring you,
yeah,
right? Because what I always say is, after you've asked that question, and if they've given you a good response, you could say something like this in return: thank you for providing that, and what you do, and the company culture. Um, Based on my LinkedIn profile, my work experience, my education, if I seen this job, right? Do you think I should apply? Because you're not
yeah,
asking any favors, but then
yeah.
what if
Yeah,
they could get a referral bonus for referring you, right?
yeah,
And even if they couldn't, like you said, LinkedIn is a very giving platform. You're going to find people that will provide that advice. So I always share this strategy with my clients, and I'm sharing it with everybody here, free today. But it is a good best practice, because then you get to find out, again, culture. You get to find out if you maybe really do align with that job, because maybe that person's going to tell you whether you do or not. And the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to be connecting to more people in the
yeah,
industries and the companies and the
yeah,
positions that you want anyway. And that is again, it seems so basic, but tailoring those questions right, or just those comments to those people, will get them a better chance to get a better response than just saying, hey, I need a job, right?
yeah,
Nobody wants to reply to those. But boy, if somebody gives me, and I'm sure, like you, we get a lot of connection requests, a lot of highs, throughout, hundreds
yeah,
on some days.
absolutely.
But if somebody takes the time and gives a very, thoughtful, meaningful comment and a connection, I'm gonna accept it, and I'm
Yeah,
gonna briefly engage when I have time. So again, it's really just about how you deliver the message. And I have those scripts for anybody that wants to DM me. I can share them, and even how to navigate LinkedIn. I'll share with you, like, how to find those people. and on that little PDF I have, little cheat sheet I have.
Amazing. I mean, these are like very simple step, but I'm sure it's very, very effective because I it happens with me as well. Like, as you said that we get thousands of requests, but those who have some meaningful note, we are just tend to open that message. It's like it's automatic, we just go it and just see that what the message is. So that attract our attention. So okay, so it's all about the correct creating a meaningful connection and engaging with the right people. So where is the importance of the resume? When do they actually need to send the resume, and how do they need to do it? Is it still worthwhile to email the resume to the on the these website portals or even the LinkedIn directly? So what is the part of resume, and how do can actually mail them to the right recruiter?
Sure. Yeah, we can apply online, on that company website, and I know it takes a lot of time,
Yeah.
but I know when we apply on a company website, a lot of people get to potentially see it. Hiring manager, usually hiring manager's boss, recruiter, maybe HR manager. And then on a lot of websites like LinkedIn as well, there's an easy apply button. But,
Yeah.
but generally when you, or not easy apply, but apply now, Indeed has something very similar. But when you see that, I know it only takes us a few seconds to apply, but generally that's only going to one person and one person only, and that's generally a recruiter. And if they're getting 400 resumes, they might not go through them all, right? So I would much rather somebody, when they see that, try to apply on the company website. I know it takes more time. We got to put in more information, but the right people get to see it. And there are some stats showing that very few people get hired in that easy apply or apply now. So I want you to find the company website. I don't want our audience targeting recruiters on LinkedIn. Now,
Okay.
obviously, if a recruiter contacts them, then yes, I want you to respond.
Yeah.
But recruiters get a lot of messages, and
Yeah.
recruiters always aren't our best friends, meaning
Yes.
a lot of times they don't know transferable skills like that manager would, right? So, or even maybe HR manager. So, going back to, targeting people that, in the same or similar job, but um, um, when to get your question, yes, we need to, have a solid resume that maybe 1 or 2 pages that really shares what we've done and accomplished in our career. But we got to draw attention to the right things. And a lot of times on resumes, I would prefer that when you apply on a company website to use a Word doc resume.
Yeah.
When emailing a resume, please use a PDF. It looks much better, but sometimes you'll have a hard time populating all the things that you need to on a website using a PDF resume. So I'd always suggest using a Word doc resume.
Okay, that's great. There's one question from Sarika, and like nowadays AI is used for sorting resumes. Some advice if you have to go to machine check.
Sure. So there is some truth to that. A lot of times, maybe a recruiter will key in some keywords, give me these applicants that meet these. We use something that, as myself as a manager, multi-unit manager, was able to go in and filter for certain things. So what I would say is before you apply for that job, Panda, it's having that resume in front of you, looking at that job description. And what I want you to do is start at the bottom of that job description, of that job posting. Start at the bottom and work your way up. Look for the skills required because a lot of times they'll be in the bottom. Are they on your resume? the ones you have, right? But
Yeah.
are they on your resume? Okay. Because yes, if they're going to have anything reviewing your resume, we want to make sure that they're there. Part of the things that I do for my clients is I always ask my clients to send me links to 2 to 3 various jobs they might be applying for, because I use some software in reverse. I use some software to compare the resume versus the job description to see what might be missing, and then seeing if my client know those skills. So even if they're not using any AI, we
Yes.
still want to have those really high level skills on our resume. So Panda, look at the bottom of that job description, work your way up, because right there, generally in that bottom section, you're going to find the skills necessary to perform the job, and just make
Yeah.
sure it's on your resume.
Yeah, I think that answered the question, and yeah, I think it's amazing to actually have a comparison or to have a quick check. I would just say that you have just your skills are matching with the jobs that you're applying for. So that's great. Okay, so now moving forward, now we've done like the job search part and then the application through resume. That comes the job interview part. So, what are the tips you can give to ace a job interview?
Sure. So I know people are going to be, anxious or
Yeah,
nervous, right? Especially maybe we haven't interviewed in a long time.
yeah,
So I'll give some tips on this and then we'll go into a little bit more. But what I would make sure you do is, one, don't be over caffeinated. So if you drink a lot of coffee,
yeah.
don't, because your
That's great.
mind, your mind
Yeah,
and your mouth will not work at the same time. So um, so I would not be over
yeah, I
caffeinated.
just love
Yeah,
it.
don't be, because
Okay.
I'm already like full of energy. So
Yeah,
if I drink a lot of coffee and I had an interview, I
yeah,
might be rambling. I don't know when to stop. So we need to bring it down a little bit. So don't be over caffeinated. But to put you a little bit at ease, what I want people to do is, if you have a favorite TV show, comedy, or a video clip that's really funny, make sure that before the interview that you've watched that, and maybe it makes you smile, maybe it makes you giggle or laugh, because by by laughing, by smiling right before it, it will put you in a different state of mind, and
yeah,
it will ease the nervousness. Come prepared. What do I mean by that? Come prepared with questions, right?
yeah.
And not what the culture's like in the company, but maybe, uh, what would, if I was hired, what within the first 90 days or 6 months, what would your expectations be of me, accomplishing this or this? And sometimes we get interviewed by somebody that might be a peer, because maybe we'll have, a boss interviewing us, maybe have somebody in HR, but maybe we might have somebody that could be in a role that could be our peer. So I would tell you to maybe see if you can ask a question to them about what made them successful within the first maybe 90 days or 6 months. And at the beginning of the interview, you should always ask permission to do two things right before it starts. Hey, do I have your permission can I take notes during the interview? Even if it's a video call and you might
Yeah.
not think that they're going to see you, right? Ask
Okay.
permission, because what that's going to do is that's going to, let them know that you might be looking down, taking some notes, but then you can write down their names so you don't forget who they are, and use
Okay.
their names. People love to hear their name, use
Yeah.
their names. And that shows them that you want to be there. At least for me, it does. If somebody
Yeah.
wants to take notes and then ask permission, hey, will I be given time at the end to maybe
Mhm.
ask a few questions? Make sure that they know it's only a few, right?
Mhm.
And most of the time they're going to say, well, sure, yes. But again, make sure they're strategic. Again, depending on who's going to be there, don't ask about the company culture. You should know something about that before. Maybe I'll share some advice on that in a minute. But those were some little tips on trying to bring that, don't be over caffeinated, right?
Yeah.
Have some questions, take some notes,
Yeah.
and make sure you have some really good targeted questions, maybe based on the job description that you've seen, or maybe you've gathered some other data that you have some really solid questions. But always ask permission to take notes. It really shows that you want to be there as well.
These amazing tips. I really love these tips, especially like, don't be over caffeinated and taking notes. I never thought of it, to be honest, and taking notes during the interviews, because usually it's a conversation, or like the interviewer is asking the question, but I'm sure definitely it will create a big impact on the person, that that you're really serious in passing through this job interview. So I think that's a great tip. You were saying that you want to share tips about company culture. So
Oh,
yeah.
yes. So I hear so many people
Yeah.
ask during the interview, hey, what's the culture like? Well, what does
Yeah.
that mean, right? So if
Yeah.
you've done your homework and you've messaged some of those people in the same or similar role like we did, we spoke of earlier, you're going to find out what the culture is before going to the interview, asking about the culture again, and asking about the culture. Listen, every company has a mission statement, culture statement, whatever, right? I understand that. But what I would do is, people, we always hear this, people don't leave companies, they leave people, right? Try to look at the people that, if you know the people that are going to be interviewing you, go to LinkedIn. Can you find them on LinkedIn? Now, I don't want you to message them, but before the interview, but take a look at their about section. Take a look at what they've posted, what they've commented on, because you might get to find out what type of leader they are by looking at their content on LinkedIn. I gave, it was a few months ago, but I gave this advice to a client one time, and we were doing a video call. So I pulled up the person's profile, and I looked at their posts and their comments, and I said, okay, this person is this type of leader. I would ask things regarding this, because then that person almost felt like he knew him. It was, so
Yeah.
what I want you to do is think less about the culture of the company and maybe the mindset and that leadership culture that person might, might be, if that person's going to be your boss, right? Or
Yeah.
even if they're in HR, even if it's that HR manager, go and look at their profile, look at their about section, look at their comments and their posts, if they do post. Because again, we stay and we leave companies because of people. So really look at the type of leader that you might be interviewing with.
Yeah, very. I mean, this is a great advice. Again, it is all about connecting with the people and creating a kind of a connection that creates more engagement. There's one question by Geeta, like
Yes.
fancy fonts, graphics, table, columns, or header footers that can confuse ATS and make resume unreadable. Are these resume headed for the trash can?
Uh, I would say yes, but
Mhm.
I understand that some people in some industries want to have that. Maybe they're a photographer, they're graphics, if then it's okay to have that one and
Okay.
a boring resume. It could be okay to have
Yeah.
too. Uh,
Okay. And
because
this, yeah.
most of those fancy resumes, if you eliminate all of the fancy stuff, they
Yeah.
really don't have a lot of content. They don't,
Yeah.
at least that's my opinion. They're usually one page, but if you
Yeah.
remove all the fancy stuff, does it say enough about what you do? And the answer
Yeah.
is no. So if you can get the fancy ones to say maybe on 2 or 3 pages, right? all the great
Yeah.
things, then sure. Or you have it as a backup to give somebody in person. Again, or as uh, again, maybe they've asked for a little bit more that provides some of your work, and maybe your work is visual, then yes, you would want to have something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I think the same. She's asking there should be limited to single page, and there's another question also by Geeta that it's yeah, sorry. Should our post on LinkedIn be vanilla or political issues and strictly limited to our profession? So that she asked two questions that should it be limited to one or like single page or more, or this should be the
All
what
right,
should be the
let's
post about?
let's
Yeah.
take the we'll take the one page first. So I
Okay.
I write roughly about 8 to 10 resumes a week.
Okay.
Sometimes more, sometimes less. That's bad, but that's on average. Very seldom have I ever written a one-page resume because normally, and maybe that person is a recent college grad with very little working experience or no working experience,
Okay.
but a one-page resume normally does not have enough content to tell people what you've really done in those roles. Now, if you can do it, then great. But if you've had 5 or 10 years worth of working experience, I guarantee you, you're going to have to remove a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
valuable information. So nobody's ever going to read your entire resume, regardless if it's 1 or 2 pages. Normally, they're not going
Yeah.
to read it all anyway. So I would want that value on the first page. But if we needed to share other positions, then yes. So I would say limiting it to one page is going to limit somebody's knowledge of what you've done. So that's my
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah, and she also has another question that should a post on LinkedIn be on Milena or political issues, yeah,
Well,
or
uh,
professional only.
well, I like vanilla ice cream, but vanilla on LinkedIn, maybe not so much. So if you're a job seeker, what should you post on LinkedIn? Don't post you need a job. Okay. Here's what you should be posting. Post things about your knowledge, right? What your little tips and advice. If you're a project manager, provide tips on that. But we are all subject matter experts about various things. I still remember my first video that I did on LinkedIn. It was on January 24th, 1960. Oh, or no, I almost gave away my birthday. Uh, it was on January 24th, 2019.
Okay.
Well, people can do the math here in a minute, but it was on January 24th, 2019. It was my first video I ever did of me.
Yeah.
And I shared that I turned 50 that day. Okay. So people can do the math, figure out when I was born. But anyway, um, but I was excited because here in the United States, um, when you're 50, you can contribute more to your retirement, to
Yeah.
your 401k. So I was sharing things not about my expertise really, but just you can share tips about your knowledge about various things. But on LinkedIn, what I would do is if I was about to interview somebody and I went to their LinkedIn and I saw their post, well, what if they shared something that shared their insights into what I was about to interview them for?
Yeah.
So those are the best things to share. Share your knowledge. Share those tips about what you do in your role. But you can share various things because we're all subject matter experts about various things outside of our daily, work,
Yeah.
right? In our daily life. So feel free to share whatever you want. Now, yeah, it can be it shouldn't be too political or one-sided, but share your tips, your advice about the various things that you're a subject matter expert about.
Yeah, amazing. Exactly. So, one more question that I have, and that is the question that I usually get a lot from the people around me, is that as actually you also mentioned that as you turn 50, and that is the time that people are approaching retirement, and actually the thing is that that puts a lot of pressure on the people as well as they're aging. They
Yes.
gain a lot of experience. There are less jobs, and there is a uh, I mean, to find the right job for them is even more tougher and very difficult.
Yes.
So what is the strategy you recommend for them?
Sure. So nowadays, um, people come to me, in their 50s and go, "Oh, there's ageism. I'm not going to get hired." Right. Well,
Yeah,
to be honest, even right before COVID, um, let's face it, companies don't keep people as long as they did before, right? But employees don't stick around as long as they did before, right? You know,
yeah,
the average person might stay at a job for 3 years, right? And then they move on to a different job, or a company lays people off or whatever.
mm,
So knowing that, what we've been finding is actually those college graduates are having a tougher time, because
mhm,
if if I'm getting ready to hire somebody and I know they're not going to stay with my company for probably for 20 years,
mm,
right? I need somebody that's more talented. I can't hire somebody that maybe is entry level or out of college, because I need somebody I can put in place
yeah,
and do the work today. So for for those people that have maybe been working for a while, they're in their 50s and 60s, but still want to work for, another
yeah,
10 or 20 years. Let's make sure that we're not maybe putting the year we graduated college on our resume. Make
mm,
sure we're not putting every job. If we have 30 years worth of working experience on our resume, they can do the math and at least figure out about how old we are, right?
yeah,
So, um, you don't have to put, I have 30 years of experience working in this industry. You could just put, I have 10 plus, I have 15 plus, right? You don't have
okay,
to put 30. You don't have to put every job that you've ever had, because then again, they can date you. But you don't need to put the year you graduated unless you just recently graduated. Then I would say yes, put that on there. And again, leverage that network. If you're in your 50s, you're probably, have more than a few people that you've worked with in the past. Hopefully you've kept up to date with them and connected with them on
yeah,
LinkedIn, but leverage that network that you've built over the years to help them refer you to other jobs. And again, kind of get that out of your head if you're in your 50s or 60s or late 40s, because companies need people that are talented, that they don't have to just hold their hand and teach them stuff throughout the years. Because again, companies aren't keeping people long for a long time, and employees are eager to leave for various reasons. So again, that person that's, in their 50s and 60s has a lot to give, and you don't
yeah,
need them for 20 or 30 years, right? Because again, of the average person of how long they stay. So that would be my suggestion, is don't worry less about it. And college grads, you can stand out by making sure that you treat those different projects of what you did in college, treat them like jobs when you write them on your
yeah,
resume, to give people, because if you don't have any working experience, how do you get it? How do you land a job, right? So
absolutely, yeah,
treat the things that you've done in college, right? Those projects, what you learned, and make sure you expand on those on your resume. And even though I might be looking at that resume, if I was that hiring manager, I might I might know that you weren't, that's not a paid position, but I get to learn a little bit more about what you learned, how you used it, to fulfill that project, or whatever you were doing, while in school getting that bachelor's or whatever it was. You gotta share more to really compete with all of those other hundreds of people that are going to be applying.
yeah. Amazing advice. I mean, I really, really enjoyed the entire discussion because you shared wonderful tips, very practical, very simple, and of course very effective. I know we can actually go on, but the time is running out. So I think there's one question just popped up by the
Sure.
tests. I think if the company says that they want 15 plus years and you have 25, and put 25 instead, okay, it's just a comment. So yeah, That's a very great advice. That's a great comment that we need to be specific that what actually company is looking for, and then what exactly information we are providing. So that's a brilliant comment. So okay, so before we end the show, what one advice would you give to our audience today to actually land a dream job?
Sure. Well, we got to know, again, what we're passionate about, what we love doing, and what we're great at. And I would take a step back. Even if you're in a job and you like it or whatnot, don't build your network. So maybe I'll get some. Hey, I want to leave this, for our people. Go to LinkedIn, click in the search box. Okay, click on people, and then click second degree connections and see how. So I do this all the time to share with people. Yes, I have about 29,000 connections. I have about 116,000 followers, but the second degree connections is where and how you can leverage LinkedIn. I have over 4 million second degree connections. And that's if you add up all your connections, connections, leveraging LinkedIn like a database, searching for people like we've shared, we can search for people that work at a particular, company in the same position that we're going to be applying for. But leveraging LinkedIn like a database, building your network before you need it, connecting to people in various industries, and just like-minded people. Build your network before you need it, because if you need it all of a sudden today and you don't have it, it's really going to be very difficult. So please, 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 LinkedIn is a very giving community. I love it.
Yeah, me too.
Make sure that you're building meaningful connections when you don't need them. So if and when you need them, you can leverage them, and so that you can help more people yourself as well.
Yeah, amazing advice. I think that is the key actually. Having a good network is the key to not only land job, is to achieve success in any field of, you know, life. So I think that's brilliant advice. So what is the best way that people can reach out to you? I know you're very active on LinkedIn. Any other platform that you are active on where they can reach out?
Sure. I have a Facebook account. I have a Instagram account, but I'm not active. Even though I post, I'm
Okay.
not active. Uh,
Yeah.
recently, I've started on Medium,
Okay.
which is a great platform to share articles. I
Yeah.
think I started about 45 days ago. I post daily articles there, but where my heart lies is on
Yes.
LinkedIn. So yes, come
Okay.
find
That's
me,
great.
comment, and engage on my posts, and I'll do the same. So yes.
Oh, that's great. So I think I've already posted about your profile in the comments, and people who are listening to our show either live or in the replay, they can reach out if you want any service about the resume writing or the job search or any consultancy. Please reach out. He is the expert in this, and I know even in this, whoever has listened to today's show, they might have got the idea that how much experience and highly skilled you are. So thank you so much for joining us and sharing these wonderful tips. I'm sure it has helped a lot to all the audience who have actually who may be looking for the job. It must have helped them a lot. So thank you so much to the audience as well, and to David also for taking time and sharing all these advice. Thank you and have a great day. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.